Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. There's a certain kind of silence in marriage, the kind that doesn't scream or cry, but simmers. It's not the absence of words, but the quiet erasure of love, inch by inch. And Nathan Langley had been living in that silence for nearly a year, long before he realized it had a name. Her name was Delilah. To everyone else, they were the golden couple. Nathan, a respected high school literature teacher with a warm smile and calming voice. Delilah, once a struggling painter, now the owner of a thriving art gallery, known for her fiery curls and sharper tone. They had 2 children, Mila, age 6, and Ezra, barely 4. A modest house in Portland's quieter outskirts. A schedule full of school drop-offs, gallery shows, bedtime stories, and late-night grading papers. On the surface, everything looked like it worked. Until the night, Delilah shattered it with one sentence over leftover pad thai. "Nate, what would you think if we tried something untraditional?" He had just opened his laptop, about to grade sophomore essays on the Crucible, his eyes bleary from back-to-back classes. He paused, blinking. Untraditional how? Her fork clinked against her plate. Like, maybe opening things up. Just once. Just a night. It didn't compute. "You mean, like an open marriage?" he asked, slow and cautious. She nodded. "Yes. One night. It's not cheating if we agree, right?" Nathan stared at her like she had grown horns. "You want permission to sleep with someone else?" "Just once," she said, too casually. "It could be fun. Reviving. We've been stuck in this cycle, haven't we? Wake up. School drop-offs, work, dinner, sleep. Don't you feel it too?" His heart didn't break that night. It cracked. A hairline fracture across a surface he thought was solid. He pushed his chair back. "Delilah, I don't know what's wrong with you, but that's not love. It's not partnership. That's you trying to outsource your boredom." "I'm not bored," she argued. "I'm alive. I want to feel that. Don't you?" The conversation turned into fights. Not loud, but slow burning. At the grocery store. Folding laundry, buckling the kids into the car. Always the same refrain. "Just one night, Nate. Just one." He kept saying no. Until the night she stood at their bedroom door in a deep green dress that shimmered like temptation itself, and said, "I'm going to Colleen's party. I'm staying out. Don't wait up." Nathan stood in the hallway in his socks, their kids asleep, and whispered, "You do this, there's no going back." Delilah smiled. Not with guilt, but with something darker. Maybe that's the point. She left. He didn't cry. He didn't rage. Instead, Nathan walked into the kitchen, made himself a cup of decaf, and opened a blank Word document on his laptop. He titled it, Custody Strategy. Because some wars aren't fought with fists, they're fought with cold planning. The next morning, she came back. Makeup smeared, heels in hand, hair wild like a wolf had run its claws through it. She smiled sleepily and said, "Told you it wasn't a big deal." He didn't answer. He had already made the call to a private investigator named Jules Morales. Because Nathan had a plan, and it started with watching her burn herself down. For the next few weeks, Nathan didn't raise his voice, didn't storm out, didn't throw plates or demand answers. Instead, he started waking up an hour earlier. He made breakfast for Mila and Ezra before the sun rose. He started walking the kids to school instead of driving. He picked up extra tutoring hours. To Delilah, it probably looked like a man retreating into routine. But in truth, Nathan was sharpening every tool he had, quietly collecting evidence, rearranging finances, preparing. Meanwhile, Delilah grew bolder. She became a phantom of her former self, yet louder in all the wrong ways. She spent more time at the gallery, which Nathan quickly confirmed wasn't true. Jules, his investigator, sent him grainy photos of her entering a loft on Hawthorne Street around 9:40 p.m. every Thursday. A loft that belonged to a man named Leo Carmichael. Leo, Nathan would later find out, was no stranger. He was Delilah's gallery supplier. A charming, rugged carpenter who made custom art frames. Divorced. 2 kids. A man who once shook Nathan's hand at their Christmas party. In one photo, Delilah was laughing with Leo at a food truck while wearing the scarf Nathan bought her in Florence, Italy. In another, Her hand rested lightly on Leo's knee at a rooftop bar. But it wasn't the physical proof that wrecked Nathan. It was the voice memo Jules uncovered, sent by Leo to a friend. Delilah said she hasn't been touched, right, in years. She called her husband a walking dead man. Said she only stays for the house and the kids. I mean, damn. She practically begged me to record last night. Said it turns her on knowing he might see it one day. Nathan played it once. Then never again. He sat in his car afterward, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. Not because she cheated, not even because she lied, but because somewhere along the way, she had stopped seeing him as human. And that's when he made a decision. He wouldn't just leave her. He would erase her. Strategically, legally, emotionally. So he called Jules back and said, I need full surveillance. Everything. I want receipts, voice logs, recordings. I want to know where she is every hour of the day. By the end of the month, he had everything. Proof of 6 separate meetings with Leo. 2 audio recordings of explicit conversations between them. Photos, enough to fill a courtroom wall. And a printed log of Delilah withdrawing $3,000 in cash every Friday from their joint savings account. Always labeled, art expenses. He didn't confront her. Instead, he smiled at breakfast. He kissed Mila on the forehead. He fixed the leaky faucet. He waited. Then, one Saturday morning, while Delilah was at yoga, Nathan packed the kids' bags, printed the surveillance documents, and drove them to his sister's home across town. That evening, he served Delilah with full custody divorce papers, citing adultery, financial misconduct, and emotional harm. She walked into the empty house expecting her husband, and instead found a thick envelope on the kitchen table. Inside, photographs, statements, timestamps, and a single post-it note. You made your choice. Now I'll make mine. He didn't answer her 19 missed calls, nor her crying voicemails, nor the screaming email where she claimed he was throwing away their life over one mistake. Because it wasn't one mistake. It was 6 nights. With Leo. And several others after. He knew. Because Jules had also found a hidden folder on Delilah's laptop. It was password protected. The password? Nathan's birthday. Inside were videos. Dozens. With men whose names she never even mentioned. Her expression in each. Not shame. Not regret. But glee. The next morning, Nathan deleted the backup files from the investigator's cloud. But not before saving one particular clip. Because when the court date came, and she played the doting wife, begging for joint custody, Nathan handed that clip to his lawyer with one sentence. Let the judge decide if she deserves to raise our children. And the courtroom, once filled with polite murmurs, fell into dead silence. The video played for exactly 52 seconds. No more was needed. Delilah's voice purred through the courtroom speakers as she looked into the camera, straddling a man Nathan had never seen before. Let's make this one messy. My husband's probably grading essays while I make memories. The judge stopped the video with a sigh and tapped her pen against the desk. Delilah's lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Nathan didn't flinch. He had watched it 12 times already. Delilah, however, shrank visibly. It was the first time Nathan had seen shame in her eyes in years. Outside the courthouse, she caught up to him in the parking lot. Her lipstick smeared, her hands trembling. You set me up, she hissed. He turned to face her fully. You set yourself up. I just handed the world your mirror. She blinked, then whispered, I didn't think you had this in you. I didn't either, he replied calmly. But apparently betrayal is a hell of a teacher. He walked away. From there, things unfolded fast. Nathan was awarded full custody of Mila and Ezra. Delilah got visitation rights, supervised, once a month. She kept her gallery, but lost all rights to their shared property. Nathan sold the house, bought a small fixer-upper with a backyard for the kids. It was old, but it was his. Clean walls, clean slate. Still, the shadows didn't vanish. Some nights, after the kids fell asleep, Nathan would sit on the porch and wonder, how long had she been gone while standing beside me? Was it after Ezra was born, when intimacy became survival instead of pleasure? Was it during her second gallery opening, when Leo had first offered her a drink and a compliment? There were no answers, only echoes. But pain, he discovered, was also fuel. So Nathan started running. Every morning, just before sunrise. At first, just a mile. Then 3. Then 6. His body transformed. Leaner, stronger. People noticed. Parents at school drop-off. A barista who scribbled her number on his coffee cup. Even his students, who once mocked his lectures, began listening with genuine interest. And then, there was Camille, Mila's art teacher. Widowed. Soft-spoken but fierce. She ran a weekend art club Nathan volunteered for, just to be near his daughter. Camille didn't pry. She didn't ask questions. She offered kindness the way people offer tea in storms. It started with shared car rides to the kids' science fair, then co-hosting a birthday party. Then, one evening, as they packed up papier-mâché volcanoes, she touched his hand and said, "I know it still hurts. You don't have to pretend." Nathan didn't pull away. They talked that night, for hours, about Delilah, about betrayal, about guilt and healing and how strange it is to still crave someone who destroyed you. Camille didn't offer advice, just space. And sometimes, that's all healing needs. Delilah, on the other hand, was unraveling. Jules, still occasionally feeding Nathan updates, mentioned she had fired half her gallery staff. Word had gotten around, clients pulling out, friends ghosting her. Leo? Gone. Apparently, once the custody case surfaced, he disappeared from Portland altogether. In one blurry photo, Delilah was seen exiting a bar at 2 a.m., yelling at no one. In another, she was slumped in her car outside the kids' school, never going in, just watching. But Nathan didn't feel pity. He felt peace. Because the man she tried to destroy, he was rebuilding himself, brick by brick. And soon, the final piece of his revenge would come, one she'd never see coming. By the time winter settled into Portland's bones, Nathan had already laid the groundwork for the final chapter in his quiet war. Delilah had tried reaching out again, emails dripping with false humility. "I miss Mila's voice in the mornings. We can still be a family in some way. Let's not let the past poison everything." He never replied. Because for Nathan, the past wasn't poison. It was purpose. He had spent months quietly tracking more than just her lies. He had mapped her entire business model. With Jules' help, Nathan discovered something Delilah had never expected him to find: tax evasion. Her gallery, ostensibly thriving, had been pocketing thousands in undeclared sales. Art pieces sold under the table. Cash-only clients. Falsified receipts. She had even used their children's names on expense reports for family therapy, which never happened. Nathan sat with the information for a long time. He could have reported her instantly, but that wouldn't be justice. It would be noise. So he waited for a gallery's 10-year anniversary event, a flashy art show titled Truth Through the Frame. She invited everyone: local artists, journalists, sponsors. She even had a live-streaming booth and a social media hashtag. Nathan RSVP'd with a quiet yes. He showed up alone. Crisp black suit, clean shave, calm eyes. Delilah saw him across the room and froze. He walked up slowly, smiled politely, and said, "Congratulations. This place has come a long way." She blinked. "You came." "Of course," he said coolly. "I wanted to see how truth looks in a frame." Then he handed her a gift box. Elegant, matte black with a silver ribbon. "What's this?" "Open it later," he said, before walking off into the crowd. Inside the box, a printed report with photo evidence of every illegal transaction she'd made over 2 years. At the top was a cover letter. Filed. To State Tax Board. Regards. The man you laughed at. Delilah opened it 30 minutes later, right as her opening speech began. The mic in her hand trembled. Her voice cracked. The gallery lights seemed too bright all of a sudden. Guests stared. Sponsors whispered. One journalist who had already reviewed her gallery that month quietly slipped away to file an update. Within 72 hours, her accounts were frozen. The gallery's social media went dark. And by the end of the month, Truth Through the Frame was permanently closed due to pending legal investigation. But Nathan wasn't done. He reached out to the families who had unknowingly supported Delilah's scheme. The parents who'd bought art in good faith. He offered them full refunds through a class action refund plan, out of his own savings. They were stunned, and they rallied behind him. News broke not just about the fraud, but about the teacher, the father, the man who refused to stay broken. Nathan Langley became a local hero. Camille, who stood by him through it all, finally said one night as they closed the Kids Art Club together, "You know, you didn't just survive her. You rebuilt something better." He turned, eyes softening. "Not alone. Then he kissed her. Not rushed, not desperate, but real. Their romance didn't begin with fireworks. It began with a whisper in the rubble. You're safe now. Back in her shrinking world, Delilah faced more than legal trouble. The IRS froze her assets. Her landlord filed eviction. Former clients sued for misrepresentation. Leo never came back. And the final blow, Mila's drawing of Nathan, Camille, and Ezra, framed at her bedside with the words, "My real family." Delilah didn't just lose a husband. She lost witnesses to her goodness. And for people like her, that's the deepest kind of hell. Spring came like forgiveness, but only for those who deserved it. By then, Nathan had settled into a new rhythm. The house he'd once thought of as temporary became a home. The walls echoed with laughter again. Mila learned to braid her own hair. Ezra started reading early. Camille moved in slowly. First a drawer, then her books, then one morning, her voice singing in the kitchen as pancakes sizzled. But Delilah? She was nowhere near renewal. Her court date for tax fraud was set. She'd pleaded down, of course, hired the best attorney she could scrape together, but the damage was done. The press had moved on, but her name carried a bitter aftertaste in every arts circle she once dominated. The final nail came in early June. Nathan received an envelope in the mail. It wasn't from Delilah, but from her father, Arthur Rensley, a cold, conservative businessman who had once said to Nathan at their wedding rehearsal, "Try not to fail my daughter. She's not used to disappointment." The letter was 2 paragraphs. Apologizing, admitting shame, ending with, "I was wrong about who would fall apart." Nathan didn't reply. He didn't need to. That letter wasn't for reconciliation. It was a quiet surrender. The day Camille surprised Nathan with tickets to a weekend retreat, Mila found something in the mailbox, a birthday card, mailed weeks too early. From Delilah. Inside, her handwriting trembled. "I miss you, Mila. I hope you're still painting. I hope you still remember our late-night stories. Tell Daddy I'm sorry. Tell him I'm still me." Mila looked up and asked, "Daddy, is Mommy coming back?" Nathan crouched beside her, held her hand, and said gently, "She was lost, honey. And sometimes people stay lost for a long time. But we're okay. We're home." And that was the moment. More than court victories, more than strategic revenge, that sealed Nathan's peace. Because he wasn't raising his children on bitterness. He was raising them on truth. That summer, he published a memoir anonymously, Portrait of the Ghost Wife. It never used names. It never threw her to the wolves. But it told the story of betrayal, survival, and slow-burn revenge. It went viral. He donated half the royalties to family therapy programs for single parents. Camille, always by his side, once whispered at night, "Do you regret not destroying her further?" He shook his head. "You only destroy what matters. She doesn't." And he meant it. Because Delilah had once mocked his pain, filmed her infidelity, worn it like perfume. She played a game, thinking Nathan was too soft to strike back. But he had burned her world down with documents, not drama. With strategy, not screams. And in the end, she didn't just lose a marriage. She lost every version of herself that people once believed in. Nathan didn't just win. He walked away with everything she never even knew how to love. His children, his peace, and a love that never needed to be earned through betrayal.